I wonder if these books had so many defects that it wasn't worth sending them to CGC. Hey there, today I have a CGC unboxing video, and in this video I'm going to open up a 12-book submission that I sent to CGC via the Palm Beach comic book presser. All of these books were cleaned and pressed by the Palm Beach comic book presser, and he also included his detailed grader notes so that I can better understand the type of defects that were on the books at the time they were submitted. Now, when I talk about the time they were submitted, this is the time that Palm Beach has assessed the work after he was done with my books before they went to CGC. And what I like about this process is it sets really clear and defined and reasonable expectations for the grade that CGC will ultimately give the book. Now, as always, I don't look at the grades beforehand, but I do review Palm Beach's estimates that he sends to me when he's done with all of my books and they're about to head out to CGC. So I'll share those grades, the estimates, and also my grade before I sent the book to Palm Beach. I'll talk about the grader notes that he provides, and then ultimately, once I reveal the grade that you'll see first, can kind of compare those notes to the grade that CGC gives to the book, and so I can really understand what defects really hold the book back from getting a 9.8 versus defects that maybe they will allow them to exist in a way that doesn't affect the overall presentation of the book. I recently picked up on this note when I was watching a CGC video that was highlighting one of their graders. They talked about not every defect being the same. It's not as scientific as at least I thought it was, which kind of bothered me in a way. But the point that the grader was making was that if the same defect occurs on two different books, depending on where that defect exists on the book, and I assume what was meant was if it's like right in the middle of the spine versus down near the corner, I'm just sort of guessing at this point, but if it affects the presentation one way or another, they may allow for a higher grade if the presentation is better when a book has the same defect. So I'm still trying to process that and learn, and a submission like this that definitely has books with defects, what it allows me to do is it allows me to learn and allows me to get better at my own grading. And ultimately what I'm trying to do is find books that make sense to send off to a professional third-party presser, because I want to make sure that they are given the opportunity to improve a book. And of course, trying to make it worth my while to have a book or find a book in a particular grade where I can assess it, but also understand that it could be reasonably improved. And I always use the word reasonable because I do try to understand that miracles cannot happen with books that we're most likely looking at a grade bump or two. And I think looking at the sort of preview of the grader's notes that Palm Beach provided, this will be a very interesting submission, as many of the books that I sent to him range prior to his work in the 8.5 to 9.2 range. And what I'm looking for are to get grades from CGC back in the 9.4 to 9.8. I am hopeful that many of them are 9.8, but I'm also realistic. And I factor all of this in terms of trying to determine if it is worth my while, my time, and my resources, and ultimately, is it worth the additional money to invest in these books. But what I do is I do it in a way so that if they don't come back a 9.8, that they still have some value in those grades, like I had mentioned, somewhere 9.2 to 9.6, hopefully 9.4 to 9.8. All right, so that is the setup for this CGC unboxing. It's time to open this up and take a look at this 12-book CGC submission. All right, for those two that have been asking about my sunburn, I am getting better, and I appreciate all of the cards and letters and well wishes about that. I'm healing up just fine and doing a lot better now, so I really appreciate all of that. So let's get to the unboxing, and we'll start with the first book, which is Web of Spider-Man #1. This is from 1985. I've been after this book pretty much since 1985, and really thought that I had a 9.8 candidate on my hands. For this book, I had originally graded it as a 9.2, and the Palm Beach comic presser noted that there's a slight blunt to the top spine corner, but he said 9.8 likely. So I'm hopeful that once and for all, I do have my 9.8 candidate for Web of Spider-Man #1, and it got a 9.4, not a 9.8. So he was wrong in the 9.8 likely assessment, but right in that I did get a grade bump up from the 9.2 that I gave it. And I'm looking at his note around the slight blunting, and I don't know if I see it. I'm checking all the corners. What I see is right in the center of the book. There's a color breaking tick that is pretty significant. There's actually 3 along the spine. Still love this book, and really awesome in a 9.4. And as I said at the beginning, what I try to do is I try to build in some sort of risk tolerance that pushes books like this into a category where it kind of instructs me or guides me in a way to say it's okay to take the risk to spend the additional time and money to try to get the 9.8, and if you don't hit it, this book in a 9.4 is still very desirable. In case I wanted to upgrade it down the road, meaning I could look for a 9.6 or a 9.8 and potentially look to sell this 9.4 to help me get the upgrade. And that's what I try to do, is make sure that I'm sending in either books that are collectible or books that are desirable in certain grades, so that I can use them if they're not a 9.8 to help me get the 9.8 in the future. All right, so a little bit of a disappointing start, but that's my first graded copy of Web of Spider-Man #1. I'm really okay with that grade because I feel like, as I said, it got the grade bump, and for the amount that I paid for it, I thought it was a pretty good idea, pretty good deal to send it to Palm Beach to see what we could get. Let's move on and look at the next one. This is Moon Knight #26. This is from 1982. Now, I have a number of the original Moon Knight series in a 9.8, so I don't know if it's realistic at this point that I'll get a full run in a CGC 9.8, but I still like to find these. I love the original first run. Lots of very interesting cover artists, especially Bill Sienkiewicz, obviously, but even beyond that, some pretty cool Joe Jusko, Frank Miller covers. And looking at this one, what Palm Beach noted is the back. It's a solid black back cover, and what he was noting is that this is difficult to get in a 9.8. It's one of the reasons I chose this book to send it in. And he said there are minor, small color breaking ticks on the back, and he estimated 9.6 plus for this book. So let's see what Moon Knight 26 got. 9.2 white pages. I think this might be the first time where my assessed grade along with his estimate just didn't work out. Wow, there are a number of color breaking ticks on the front cover, not just the back cover. The back cover looks okay. I do see a few minor ticks, but they don't break color the way that it does on the front. So 9.2 of this book is pretty rough in terms of value. I'll probably be lucky if I would be able to get my money back on this. Not a lot of value added to my collection on this. So, disappointed, as I had estimated my original grade for this book was 9.4, and he said it should be a 9.6 plus. So this one's tough, getting back 9.2, because if I had kind of screened this book and thought that it would have maxed out as a 9.2, I would not have submitted it. Again, I look at my failures as a opportunity to learn, and also I'm sharing with you my process and something like this where that's not a key Moon Knight issue anyway. So if you have it and you have those similar defects, it's probably a book that you'd rather just keep raw. Next is Incredible Hulk 347. This is from 1988. This book, I remember when I picked it up, I bought it online, and I had originally assessed it as a 9.6 with some what I would consider to be minor pressable defects. and immediately thought it would be a great candidate to send to Palm Beach. Now, when he reviewed the book, what he noted is minor crease line texture change from removed crease on back outside edge, the black section of the Metal Gear box. So he was very specific, and I'm trying to see, there's the back cover is a bunch of the Metal Gear video game promo items. So I'll have to look at this one in a bit more detail and understand his note. He noted that what he saw as the minor crease is that it was very hard to detect, could be overlooked. Now, I had originally set this book as a 9.6. He said that he believes the grade should be a 9.8, and he uses a 9.8 with either a line or a tilde just to say, hey, there's a chance it could get a 9.6. Some of this, as he understands and I understand, it does depend on the grader, which is unfortunate that they are not consistent from grader to grader, but there's just so many nuances between a 9.6 and a 9.8, especially in the nines from one grade to another, that sometimes it's hard to predict unless the book is a slam dunk perfect 9.8. So let's see here. Incredible Hulk 347, 8.0. Wow. I am going to have to check the grader notes on this one. That is something. I have no idea why this would be an 8.0. 8.0 white pages. Interesting. All right, well, I don't know if I have much to say about this. I don't know why it would be an 8.0. I see one little tiny crease along the spine. The corners are ultra sharp. There's no way, unless there's something on the back that is so damaging to the book that I can't see. I really don't know, don't understand. So I'll check the grader notes on this and see what I find. 8.0 on Incredible Hulk 347. That's probably the worst book that I've received back, having gone through the Palm Beach comic presser. Let's keep moving. Incredible Hulk 255 from 1981. This one kind of has a similar comment to the last book. Palm Beach says that there's a back bottom outside corner tiny crease line. I originally graded this book as a 9.4, and he said that it is a 9.8 probable. So let's see if this book also got an 8.0, or if, maybe we're moving in the right direction with the rest of the submission. 9.6. So, love this cover. Rich Buckler on cover art, Hulk and Thor. I would say, a classic Marvel cover. Happy to have it in a 9.6. White pages, but didn't get the 9.8 as I had expected. Looks to be just a beautiful book. I don't even see the crease line that Palm Beach is talking about. Looks like a 9.8 to me all day long, but it got a 9.6. So hard for me to say what is going on right now. Did I run into a really strict grader scenario? Did we overlook other defects? I really don't know what's happening. I'm going to keep moving on. This is Marvel Team Up 78. This is a book from 1979. This one is very special to me because I don't really understand why this specific issue of Marvel Team Up is so valuable. There is a massive jump between a 9.6 and a 9.8, and I have seen two recent sales over the last few months where every time I see this book, I pick it up because if it has that chance to get a 9.8, it is worth the investment to pick it up. I get quite nervous about this one. This too is a book that up to a 9.6 doesn't have too much value, but once you get into a 9.6 and then certainly 9.8, the book takes a serious jump. This I had originally estimated as a 9.4. Palm Beach gave no grader notes and said 9.8 possible. Typically when he does that, that's a good sign that the book gets a 9.8. This could be either another flop or the biggest book in the submission, depending on that nuance of grade. Let's see if this did get a 9.8. This is Marvel Team Up from 1979, and it didn't. It got a 9.6. So, like I said, it's probably, again, kind of a money-back situation. Didn't get the 9.8. Really disappointed in this one. I honestly, as I'm looking at these books, I'm feeling like I could probably crack all of these and send them and get different grades. I'm just not seeing what they're seeing. I remember the spine on this one being absolutely perfect, and it is. I don't see anything wrong with it. And the other tough part is they're not going to give me grader notes for a 9.6. I just don't know why. The only thing I can think of is maybe there's just a little bit of a ink splash, and I always thought that that was manufacturing. I don't know if that's counting against me, but I'll honestly never know. But the back does have, it's not like oversplash or something else that would be considered to be manufacturing, but there are these just sort of like light red ink stains in the letters. Not exactly sure, but that's a real bummer. That was pretty much the centerpiece of this submission, and really don't know what to say. It did get a grade improvement. I'm supposed to be happy about that one, but this specific issue, because of the value structure of the grades, is why I'm a little disappointed in that one. Got to keep moving forward. This is Vision and Scarlet Witch from 1985. This is issue number 1. This is the second volume of the limited series. There were 2 limited series featuring Vision and Scarlet Witch. This one I had graded as a 9.6. Had some waves in the cover, just almost like maybe it had been around some humidity. Palm Beach noted some small bindery tears, a manufacturing error. There's a vertical line on the back cover. 9.6, 9.8 was his grade estimate. I'd rather just show the grade at this point because I really don't know what I'm dealing with here. And yep, 9.6. So, man, just really bummed here, not getting any 9.8s with this one. Discouraged, I guess, is another good word to describe how I'm feeling right now. Detective Comics 577 from 1987. This I love. It is a Todd McFarlane cover. He did 4 of these covers of Detective Comics. I would love to have all of them in a 9.8, and probably as soon as I say that, now I have jinxed myself. I graded this book as a 9.4. Palm Beach is estimating that it'll get a 9.6. He said that on the back top left corner, there's some wear, slight blunting with fibers at the spine corners, especially at the back bottom. So not a 9.8 candidate most likely, and he's right, it's a 9.6 white pages on that one, Detective Comics 577. I just want to finish off this submission as fast as possible, so I'm going to keep going. Uncanny X-Men 164 from 1982. Love this cover featuring Binary, one of the alternate personas of Carol Danvers. For this one, I had graded the book as a 9.2. Palm Beach did not provide any grader notes other than 9.8 likely, and it got a 9.6. So we're continuing the trend of being wrong on this one in so many different ways. Here's G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero number 44 from 1986. This I had graded a 9.6. Palm Beach said the back top edge texture change from crease near left corner. I had estimated 9.6. He also estimated a 9.6, and this got a 9.4. So this, again, is even worse than I had originally thought. Keep it going. I don't even want to cover the grade. 9.4. This one I had originally estimated a 9.2. It did get the grade bump. He estimated a 9.6 plus. Bottom outside corner has a tiny crease line. Bottom spine corner slightly blunted. Yep, I can see the blunting there. Book looks absolutely amazing. Spine, there's not a single color break along the spine. Just a light crease in the middle. The blunting did leave a little bit of history there. And then the bottom right corner has just a little bit of a color break. 9.4 on that one. And then the 2 books left to go. Star Wars number 39. This is from 1980. I remember this one specifically. I had unboxed it. I think Palm Beach had even watched my video and said this would be a good candidate to send in for improvement. I graded this one an 8.5. He estimated a 9.4 with various notes, color breaking tick on the cover, manufacturing error, misalignment causing overlap, lightly rounded corners, and a 9.2. So essentially every grade that he estimated, it went down from his estimate. And then some of them either were the same grades or went up from mine. So we're kind of meeting in the middle here, which is just something I haven't experienced before. The last book, again, not the centerpiece that maybe I had thought about, but maybe this will be the centerpiece, although I just jinxed myself again. Iron Man number 150. He did say that there is a color-breaking spine crease. He also noted that the spine is weak, and so it's possible that potentially some additional flexing or I don't know, reversion possible. Like just the structure of the book is not as strong as he would think. But I think based on his notes and his estimate of a 9.496, there's no shot at this one being a 9.8, and it ends up being a 9.4. And that is the submission. I want to wrap this up as quickly as possible so that I don't get overly emotional about this. This was probably the toughest CGC submission I've ever had. I'm usually very, very careful about the books that I send in. And honestly, while they were slightly improved, it's almost as if these books had no shot at a 9.8 and I had no business sending them in for improvement. For the additional investment of the pressing, the cleaning, and the grading, the math just doesn't work out sometimes. You can kind of see as I'm showing you the values of each book, my cost to acquire the book originally, and then you can kind of add on the pressing, cleaning fees, CGC fees, shipping fees, and all of that, and it ends up almost just being really not worth the trouble. But I want to share this with you anyway because this is really realistic of what can happen. It's not a completely magic formula where you send books to a presser, you get them back from CGC, and you have 9.8s and 9.9s to go through. It's a lot tougher sometimes than it looks, and this is a prime example of a submission that can go pretty bad if you're not careful. Let me know what you think about it. Am I being too harsh? Should I be happy with these grades? I would love to get your feedback. Maybe help me calm down a little bit about this one because this one was tough. Thank you for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.